Hello everyone, my name's Ashley and I'm brand new to YouTube. I have done YouTube videos in the past, but I decided to start a new channel dedicated to just speed paints. I recently started a 30-day challenge and today's prompt was draw yourself as a superhero, and I thought it would be kind of interesting to record the screen of me painting this. So I'm going to go through and sort of talk about my process. Right now I'm using a set of Kyle T Webster gouache brushes. They're $7. They're the best investment I think I've ever made. They're really gorgeous. I do a lot of dry brush work with actual gouache when I work traditionally. And I'm going to be really upfront and say that I'm not a fantastic digital artist. I took on the 30-day challenge because I'm trying really hard to get better at it, and I not to say that I'm not good, but there are a lot of things that I could be a lot better at, and there's still a weird disconnect for me between there's such a big difference between using a sketchbook and using a tablet and trying to look at the screen while you're drawing with your hands, and because I unfortunately don't have a Cintiq, which is another reason I'm trying to get better at digital work so that I can actually buy one. But I told myself I had to get good before I put that much money into a tablet. So what I'm kind of doing here, and I do most of my basic sketches in this red color or a blue color that's a similar value. I tend to like to do it this way just because I can see the red really clearly when I try to go back and do my line work over it. I can't imagine how different it would be if I tried to use like a yellow, especially because, as you can see, I kind of create different layers just in my basic sketch alone and change the opacity a lot. So I think the red is just such a good color to use to sketch with that I've just sort of stuck with it. So right now, like I said, I'm still basic sketch mode. I like to use the xoxo brush to start off with. It's pretty wide, it's really light and kind of airy, sort of gritty. It works like a sketching pencil, to me anyway, and I like to just sort of start off with that because I can't get too invested in refining all of my lines before I do the line work, and I do that a little bit. I kind of go through and clean up my lines a little bit, and right now I'm sort of still trying to figure out what this outfit is gonna look like. Kind of start off with like the hood and the basic like Superman logo, and I didn't like either of those. I wanted it to be really, I say really original, but I wanted it to not look like a ripoff of Superman or Raven from Teen Titans. So, yeah, I'm still just kind of trying to figure it out. This sketching process today took me a really long time. In fact, there was a lot more to it that I cut out that happened way before I even got to this point. I think I spent about an hour just trying to sketch and figure out what the body was going to look like, and the reason why I cut a lot of that out is, for one, it would have made my video a lot longer, and I didn't want to bore you guys to death with like a 40-minute video, so I tried to cut it to 13 minutes. So far, I think I'm doing pretty well. So right now what I'm doing is I'm going back and I'm working on line work, and I must say I love working digitally because I can cut out parts and paste them and flip them, and then I don't have to try and figure out the same eye twice. Just sort of lazy, but that's okay for right now. This was supposed to be kind of just a quick drawing, and it did not end up that way. I think this whole video was like 3 hours before I sped it up in Premiere. So like I said, I'm working in line work. The brush that I'm using right now, it's called Blair 30 or Blair Detail 30, and the reason why I use this for my line work and not the xoxo one is because this is a little bit of a denser line, and I don't know, it works better for me. I like the kind of smaller detail that I can get with it. And I don't know, I really like this brush. It's this one in the Blair 70. Blair 70 I don't usually use for detail, but it is, like I said, a sort of thicker, it doesn't have quite as, it still has like a gritty texture, but it's not as airy as the Gua Sha Go Go one. And I wanted to talk about why I'm not using black for my line work, and I think it's just because I feel like it would be too intense for the sort of stuff that I like to draw. I really love this sort of deep burgundy, like purpley color that I've got going on. I've been trying to introduce kind of like warmer tones into my palette because I'm sort of stuck in blues, and although I do use teal in this video, I'm trying to break myself out of it a little bit. There's this old saying that's don't sleep on your success, and I feel like I've definitely been doing that a little bit, which is why I took on this 30-day challenge. So the scales were fun to draw. They were kind of a pain to color in, but for the most part, I feel like the line work for this was pretty successful. Usually it takes me forever to do the line work, but the sketch was really the longest part today. And so now that I'm coloring, I don't like to color over a white background because it's really hard for me to see where my colors have gone over the lines, especially when I'm coloring with like a really light flesh tone like I am right here. Unless I zoom in really close, I just can't see it on the white, so I like to drop this kind of deep green gray in the background that I can work over. I don't know, it just seems to work really well for me. It makes it easier for me to sort of catch my mistakes as I go and see if there are any like holes in my flat color. Because while I do love these brushes, sometimes they don't completely like fill in the whole space. They'll leave like little marks, which are great for like right now how I'm coloring the knees, and you get that sort of like airbrushed effect, but not so great when you're trying to put just like a flat tone down. So I've been really loving this like corally red tone. I really like using it for knees, fingertips, blush. The noses that I do, I always kind of do like pop color noses, and I normally they're just red. But right now I'm just kind of like finishing up the skin tone. I like to start with the flat color, then I'll do the reds, and then I'll do the highlights. And usually I'll work like that. Like usually I'll do flat color and then lowlights and then highlights. And just filling in those shoes. So now I'm kind of going in, and I think this is probably my favorite part. Lately I've been loving just coloring hair. I think that these brushes really lend themselves to working on hair in Photoshop. Just because it makes it look sparkly and like textured, which is really cool. I've been drawing redheads a lot. I do have red hair, and I think I just understand the color of it a lot more than I understand other colored hair, I guess. And I love the red tones and like using the gold tones to bring it out. It just was really fun for me. The eyes, this is a brand new process for me, actually. I really like drawing my people with their eyes closed, and that's another habit I've been trying to break myself out of because, again, I feel like it's a little bit lazy on my part. But I was really happy with how these turned out. I don't really know why. I just kind of started doing it and started playing with things, and I just sort of ran with it, and I think I'm going to do more of that in the future because I really kind of love it a lot. So let's hear it for more characters with their eyes drawn open. And oh, this teal is my favorite color. Like, just hands down my favorite color. Any of my dear friends who are watching this will tell you that if I was a color, this this would be me. So like I said, I kind of start with the flat color and then I'll do low lights and then highlights, and then I went back and did more low lights under each individual scale. So this process was a little bit tedious, but I think that the payout for it was amazing. I love the way that it ended up looking once I added a couple more highlights to it in the end. So I'm sort of like just right now highlighting a couple of the scales that I think would stand out more. I wanted them to look a little bit like sparkly and iridescent, so I highlighted those, and then I don't know, I was trying to get like a texture on them. It didn't really work the way that I had anticipated, so I kind of just scrapped that idea. And now I'm just, like I said, bringing out a couple more of the scales, dropping the opacity on them, because I didn't want the highlight to be that bright necessarily. And the starfish were also really fun for me to do today. I really love this yellowy, orangey gold color. And when I am picking my color palettes or I'm thinking about colors, I try really hard to incorporate colors from other parts of my piece into new places that I'm coloring, if that makes sense. So that gold that I started off with was a variation of the gold that I used to highlight my hair in this piece, and I feel like it just ends up being a lot more cohesive that way. And another reason I love these brushes is that texture that you get from them, which is what I have in the starfish. And this is the shirt I just was having a really hard time with today. I didn't really figure out what color I wanted. Before I sped it up, you could kind of see me like pausing, and that was when I would ask my brother like what he thought, and he had no idea. I don't know why at first I settled on this pink. I really hate it now that I'm watching it again. I think I thought that because of the pinker tones in the skin it would look good, but I'm really glad that I ended up going with this teal instead. This like light, it's not sky blue, but it's like a light aquamarine. And I just think it works so much better with the piece as a whole. It reads a lot more as Mermaid to me. So now I'm kind of just going back in, doing the low lights, and then I'll go in with a highlighting color and do the shoulders and brighten up some of the parts that I think need lightening. Then I'll fix where I colored outside the lines. So this is where I get rid of that gray, and now I can see that some of the outline itself and the line work needs to be darkened and thickened up a little bit. So that's what I'm doing now, is I'm just going back over the outline and sort of fixing spots that I feel like aren't standing out enough for me. And this process takes a little bit of it takes a little time, just because I've already done the initial line work and it's sort of a pain to have to go back and do it again. But so now I'm just adding like white highlights to my cheeks and nose, try to brighten up my eyes a little bit. Well, they're not white highlights. I like this like pale yellow, for the same reason why I don't use black as outline. I feel like it would be too harsh. So, and I just copy my signature from other paintings. But yeah, this is my final piece. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it so much, and I really hope you enjoyed. Like I said, this is my first try, but I feel like it went really well. So thank you again. Leave comments, feel free to ask questions, and I'll see you next time. Bye!